So yesterday we discussed about sequence alignment and the terminology used in sequence alignment and also the approach by which we go for sequence alignment. Today we shall discuss in detail about the process of sequence alignment. I think yesterday we left here. So as I said that although it is possible to manually look for the similarity or dissimilarity between sequences, but in fact that is not the proper procedure, because as we know that we have to follow certain specific scoring matrices for comparing sequences, and over a long sequence it is not possible to align them manually without taking into taking the help of a computer. So now therefore various dynamic programming has been done and computer tools are available which incorporate specific standard matrices for sequence alignment. As I say, for sequence alignment we have to rearrange the sequences one upon the other several times by putting certain gaps here and there. The gaps will denote the insertion or deletion, and we'll see that after doing that what is the arrangement which gives us the best score. So for that now dynamic programs are available which use certain specific algorithms. So I think you might not be knowing what is the meaning of the term algorithm. Algorithm stands for the set of rules used in a calculation to solve a specific problem. It can be an algorithm used in any branch of physical sciences, or it can be also used in computer science. Okay, that means these are specific set of rules which are used for doing a particular calculation or solving a particular problem. So that is called algorithm. So specific algorithms are used to devise the online and offline tools for doing the sequence alignment. That we shall discuss later on, what are the common algorithms used and how they are deduced, how they are used for making the scoring matrices or doing alignment. Now you see an alignment will give a score which will be called as a quality, and the quality will be dependent upon matching and mismatching. Okay, basically there are three aspects we will look into. One is number of matches. That means how many nucleotides or amino acids, whatever the case may be, are identical in a particular position. That is matching. Then what is a mismatch? Mismatch means it's a replacement or substitution. One nucleotide is replaced by another. It may be transition or transversion. Similarly, one amino acid may be replaced by another. Again, the significance of each replacement may not be same. So there may be specific significance for a particular type of mismatch. So that we shall have to take it into account. Similarly, another type of quality you will measure, that is gap penalty. Gaps will indicate deletion or insertion. If in one sequence there is a gap, means in that position that particular nucleotide or that particular amino acid is deleted, and or maybe in the other one nucleotide is inserted. So gap will indicate insertion or deletion, means frame substitution. And because mismatches will indicate dissimilarity, some deviation, then similarly gap creation also indicates some deviation or dissimilarity. Therefore, from total quality score of similarity, it will be a negative score. Mismatches and gap penalty will be negative. Means if the matches are more than the mismatches and gaps created, that means there are high level of similarity. But if in case of certain alignment there are lot many mismatches or there are lot many gaps to be created for alignment, that indicates that these sequences are having less similarity, because these are negative scores. That is why this is the equation that we will determine after every arrangement. As I say, every time we rearrange the nucleotide sequences or protein sequences. So dynamic program will take into account this quality score every time it rearranges the sequences and determine what is the quality. But we shall discuss about the gap penalty further, because gap penalty may be of two kinds again. One is creation of a gap, means one insertion or one deletion in one particular position, and then gap extension, means at the same position if there is requirement of creation of more than one gap, 2 gaps, 3 gaps, 4 gaps, means in the same position more deletion or insertion has taken place by mutation. So there is further rare event. There is, because you cannot expect that mutational changes will take place. Suddenly there will be insertion of lot many nucleotides in a particular sequence, or there will be deletion of lot many nucleotides. If that happens, it is more rarer events, and therefore there will be more deduction of the quality score or the similarity score. They are more dissimilar. Okay, so therefore we have to have two types of penalties for creation of gap. One is gap creation penalty, when one gap has to be inserted, and secondly gap extension penalty, if gap has to be extended in a particular position. How many times gap is extended? First there will be one penalty for creation of gap, and then another penalty for extension of penalty. That means gap creation penalty multiplied by how many gaps are created, that will be the total score for gap. So therefore, the overall equation will be quality will be equal to matches minus mismatches plus gap penalty. But gap penalty again will be dependent upon gap creation penalty plus gap penalty extension penalty into gap length. Okay, gap creation penalty plus gap extension penalty into gap length. Gap length means how many nucleotides are added or deleted, or how many amino acids are added or deleted. So this will be the final equation, means quality will be equal to matches minus mismatches plus gap creation penalty plus gap extension penalty into gap length. So this will be determined following a particular set of rules, that is your certain scoring matrices. So we can give different scores for matches, different score for mismatches, different score for gap creation, different score for gap extension. So this will be determined by certain criteria based on which we shall, for a particular alignment, take into account what may be the possible score for all these things. So there are some standard matrices already formulated by experts, and those standard matrices are already used by default by most of the alignment tools which are used for sequence alignment. We shall discuss about that further in the next class, how they are used and how they are useful. Now, gap penalty parameters, as I say, are very, we cannot say that for all purposes we can use the same scoring pattern. Say for similarity or matches, how much score we will be giving. For dissimilarity, how much score we will be giving. For gap creation or extension, how much score we will be giving for a particular sequence alignment. It is not always rigidly followed. It is a flexible scoring matrix that depends on several factors. One important aspect is that the insertion of gap should increase the quality, should improve the quality. Means insertion of gaps should determine more number of matches. That is number one criteria. Means when we insert a gap in a particular position in a sequence, it should ensure that the matching score increases. If the matching score increases after creation of gap, then gap should be avoided. Okay, that is one thing. Similarly, creation of gap and extension penalty should be very high when we want to put less gaps. Okay, less gap means the penalty should be high. Penalty is high, then there will be tendency for the system to introduce less number of gaps. But if the score we have given is less, smaller score given for gap creation, then there will be tendency for creation of more gaps, because overall quality has to be reduced. So why is this so? Go back to the equation, then it is a mathematical thing. You see? If you see here, if we increase the gap penalty, then this negative value will be more. Okay, suppose here this is 5 and this is 1, this is 1. So total score will be 5 minus 2 is equal to 3. It is there. But if we increase the gap penalty, our gap earlier we take it as 1, we take it as 3 now. Suppose suddenly we are increasing the scoring matrix. So gap penalty now, if we take it into 3, then if this remains same, if after creation of gap maxes does not increase, then this score will be 5 again. This will be 1, this will be 3. So 3 plus 1, 4. So 5 minus 4 is equal to 1. So total quality will be 1. So therefore, if gap penalty or gap extension penalty will be more, means there will be less quality. Is it clear? So that is why we should be very careful about putting the score for different parameters, gap penalty or gap extension. Now, there are some common principles. Then if we are interested to find homology between two sequences which are known to be similar sequences, suppose we are taking two sequences from the same organism, from the same gene. Suppose we are comparing STX2 sequences of Escherichia coli obtained from two different strains of the same organism. Okay, we do not expect that they are having wide variation between them because they are from the same gene and they are from the same organism. So we are not expecting high level of variation. Okay, if such kind of sequences are aligned between them, then the gap penalty should be raised. Gap penalty should be increased. That means we should encourage creation of gap. Even after creation of gap, even after deduction of gap penalty, if the matching score increases, that is always acceptable. So while comparing between two similar sequences, gap penalties are given more. But while comparing two sequences which are unrelated or from two different species, we do not expect to show very high level of similarity, then gap penalty should be reduced. Okay, so that is the normal principle followed. Say for example, as we discussed earlier in the last class, that the fibrinolysin O, or what is called streptolysin O of Streptococcus pyogenes, has got antigenic similarity with endocardial protein. Now, endocardial protein of human, we do not expect that the sequence of that protein will be having high level of similarity to protein that is fibrinolysin O of Streptococcus pyogenes. So this is one is bacteria, another is eukaryote, human. So when we compare these sequences between these two proteins, then we should encourage creation of gap. That is why we have to reduce the penalty, okay? So that is the principle. Now I'll show you practically how this is usually done. You see, we have two sequences, sequence 1 and sequence 2. If we simply want to compare these two sequences, we can place one upon the other. And starting from the first nucleotide, we can start comparing every nucleotide in the sequence. So without taking into account the normal process of sequence alignment that we have discussed now, without taking into account the mutational events or gap creation, simply we make a comparison between these two sequences. What we see? You see, first 4 nucleotides are same, ZTAZ, here also it is ZTAZ. So complete matching. So matching is represented by perpendicular line. So here there is a change of nucleotide. That is, it is a point mutation. T2A point mutation has taken place. Then again 2 nucleotides are same. Again there is a point mutation. Again 2 nucleotides are same. Like that. So if we compare like this, what do we find? Matching score will be how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Only 14 nucleotides. Yeah, only 14 nucleotides are same. Suppose there are 30 nucleotides total. I'm not counting, but let's suppose 30 nucleotides are there. Out of 13, 14 are identical. So what is the level of similarity or identity? What you can say? We can say the percentage of identity will be 14 by 30 multiplied by 100. Means the similarity is less than 50%. Is it clear? So this is not,
Yes, sir.
this is not the actual alignment, because we have not considered here one important aspect of mutation which also causes changes between sequences, that is frame shift mutation. We have taken into account only the substitution, the point mutation, but we have not created gap. Gap is also common because insertion or deletion is common in case of sequences, and that is why the sequences differ from each other. If they are from the same origin, in subsequent generation, spontaneously they can be mutated and they can show some variation. So by taking into account that kind of mutation, we can try to arrange or rearrange the sequences by several processes. Now, because these are two short sequences, only about 30 nucleotides are there, therefore I was successfully arranging them by creating gaps here and there and trying to see if we can increase the number of perpendicular lines, means number of matches. I have done it several times randomly and found that this is the arrangement which gives us the best matching score. Okay, instead of giving 3 gaps here, I could have put 1 gap, but if I put 1 gap, what will happen? T will come under Z, C will come under Z, then the matching score will be reduced. But our purpose of alignment is to increase the matching score. So therefore, you are to put these gaps randomly here and there until and unless we get increased score or quality. Okay. So after doing randomly lot many rearrangements, I found that these two sequences can be arranged like this so that we can get best quality. Number of perpendicular lines are more. How many perpendicular lines are there here? Now you count 4, 6, 9, 15, then 15, 6, 21, 23, 24. Total 24 matches are there. Okay. Earlier there were only 14 matches. Now our match set is increased. Means this is the real alignment. That means we can explain now that these two sequences might have been from the same origin at one time in the evolution, but they have deviated from each other because of mutation. We can very easily describe it. Here there is a point mutation. Okay. Some people are waiting. Let me admit them. Okay. Now, because there is a mutation here, T is replaced by A. It is a point mutation. Here A is replaced by Z. Here you see there is a deletion here, or maybe there is an insertion here. Similarly, here there are insertion in 3 positions, Z, Z, A, and here there is a deletion, like that. So this can be explained in terms of mutational events in the evolution. So this is the actual arrangement, what we can say that the real sequence alignment. So sequence alignment tools will do this, means they will create gaps here and there randomly several times and try to find out the score. If the quality of the score is increasing, if the number of matches are increasing after putting some gap, that means that is acceptable. Okay. But how this is done by a dynamic program, that we'll be discussing with the help of algorithm in the next class. Okay, now let us come to one understanding. Suppose we are arbitrarily developing one scoring matrix. We are not using standard matrix, but we are trying to give certain value, or we are trying to have some specific value to the different parameters. Say, suppose we want to see the distance, means difference between the two sequences. We are interested to see how they are different from each other, how much dissimilarity is there. In that case, matches means they are quite dissimilar. There is no similarity. So when we go for distance, they are similar. Similar means matching. So similarity is not distance. Distance means dissimilarity. So matching has got no value for dissimilarity or distance. So for distance measurement, matching score will be 0. Clear? So substitution means one nucleotide is replaced by another. So this is a dissimilarity. It is a distance, means the sequence 1 is differing from sequence 2. So there is a distance score. Score of distance, let us take it as 1. And when there is insertion or deletion, as I already explained, insertion or deletion are rarer events rather than point mutation. And therefore, they are more different from each other. Because in the evolutionary history, it might have taken longer time duration for creation of these gaps or insertion or deletion. So therefore, every insertion deletion, let us take the score as 2. Suppose we are taking this as a scoring matrix. Now, if we want to calculate the total distance score, what is the difference between these two sequences? If you want to give a numerical value, then what we will do? We will not count the matches because all matches are 0. We will not count them. We will count how many substitutions are there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 substitutions are there. So for 4 substitutions, what is the score? Score will be 4 into 1 is equal to 4. Clear? Then we will count how many insertion or deletions are there. All gaps are insertion, deletion. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 gaps are there. So means total score of insertion deletion will be 5 into 2, 10. So total distance score will be 10 plus 4 is equal to 14. Is it clear? So this is the distance score. Now, we can also go for similarity score. In many purposes, we go for either distance method or we go for similarity method. We shall discuss about the requirement of distance method and similarity method while we dealing with the phylogenetic analysis. Okay, then it will be clear to you. So another measurement is measurement of similarity. This is more commonly done in case of sequence alignment. So what is the level of similarity? Let us see. So the scale of measurement or the scoring matrix for determining similarity will be different from that of distance. Here our stress is on similarity, not on difference. So therefore, every match is important. A match means there is a similarity. So similarity score for match is 1. When there is a substitution, one nucleotide is replaced by another, it is a difference. There is no similarity. So similarity score will be 0. And as I already explained, insertion deletion means it is more distant or more difference is there. So similarity score will be even a negative score. Similarity score will be a negative score. Let us take it as minus 1.5. Suppose we are taking it arbitrarily as minus 1.5. Now, if we want to calculate the total similarity of the sequences, what we will do? We will count the perpendicular lines first because each perpendicular line indicates nets. So 24 perpendicular lines are there, already we calculated. So for nets, the score will be 24 into 1, 24. Substitution, no score, will not count. Insertion deletion, negative score 1.5. So we have 5 insertion deletion. So negative score will be 1.5 into 5 minus 7.5. So total similarity score will be 24 minus 7.5 is equal to 16.5. Is it clear? So similarity score will be 16.5 and the distance score will be 14. If we take into account this kind of scoring matrices. But this we have taken arbitrarily, but there are some standard matrices available. We can take into account those standard matrices while really doing sequential alignment by using bioinformatics tools. So students, I think so far it is clear. If you have got any doubt, please ask me because this is very vital to understand what is sequential alignment. You can switch on your audio and you can put questions. Up till now, if you have got anything to ask. Okay, no question? Fine. So then we will go to the next. So in case of protein, really the situation is very complex. As I said, compared to 4 nucleotides in nucleic acid, in protein we have got 20 different variants of amino acids. The 20 variants are all these amino acids: alanine, arginine, asparagine, aspartic acid, cysteine, guanine, glutamine, like that. All, glutamine, glutamic acid, etc. So 20 amino acids are there. And all 20 amino acids can be also designated by either 3-letter abbreviation or by single letter notation. So in bioinformatics, we use single letter notation for alanine so that they can be represented by a single alphabet. Okay, these are the alphabets used for designating different amino acids. So these are actually defined in certain specific terms. Mostly it is the first alphabet of a particular name which is taken as a symbol for that amino acid. But when more than one amino acid is represented by the first letter, then we follow another principle. Say for example here, A stands for alanine. Now again arginine has come, but arginine is also starting with A. We cannot put A here. While we give a single letter notation, we have taken account of the second letter. So R stands for arginine. Similarly here, asparagine is also starting with A. It is, the second letter is AS. We cannot take S also because there is another called aspartic acid. There also it is S. Third letter is P. We cannot take because aspartic acid is also third letter P. A, R, everything is same. So we cannot take this. So to make it simple, what they have taken, because aspartic acid is an acid, it is named as acid, although others are also amino acid, but others are not named as acid, only few, glutamic acid and aspartic acid. So to make it easy, the D last alphabet has been taken for aspartic acid. So for aspartic acid, it is taken as D. Then for asparagine, it is taken as N. Okay, only 10 minutes left. So when we finish this class, please click on the next one that I have given you in the morning today so that you can continue. Okay, we have 10 minutes time left in this class.
Okay, sir.
Okay, now therefore aspartic acid is given D and asparagine is given N. Then cysteine C, okay, no problem. Then glutamine is not given Z because Z is common for glycine. Glycine is Z. So glutamine is given Q. This is quite unique. It does not originate with this one, but of course there is a that means relation, biochemical, so to say, parameter. So we'll not discuss about that. So you see, all these amino acids are represented by one single notation. And these single notations are usually used as the notations for amino acid in bioinformatics software so that they can be depicted well. Then as you know, most of the amino acids are coded by more than one codon. So for example, alanine is coded by GCT, GCC, GCA and GCG. So in all these triplet codons which represent alanine, you find that the third nucleotide is changing, T, C, A and G. But the first two nucleotides are common. That means we say in a codon, usually the third nucleotide is degenerate. It can change. But even if it gets changed by mutation, there is no change of amino acid. Is it clear? So that is why changes in protein are more reflective of the variation which is biologically significant. Because the nucleotide changes may not always result in change in the amino acid. And therefore, there will be no change of the property of the protein. Even if there is a genotypic change, the genotypic change may not reflect in the phenotype. Because there are some common codons for each amino acid, except for two. For methionine, ATG is the only codon. And similarly for tryptophan, only one codon is there, DGG. Therefore, you can very easily understand from here that if the codon changes take place due to mutation in such kind of amino acid or such kind of codons for amino acid where there is only one single codon, it will be highly significant biologically. But when there is a change in certain amino acids where codons are many, the simple changes in genotype may not be very, very significant. Is it clear? So in terms of proteins, amino acid change also, again there is another important thing, that there are many amino acids which are grouped into similar classes depending upon their properties. So there are several amino acids which are acid amino acid, acidic amino acid, some are basic amino acid, some are aliphatic amino acid, some are aromatic amino acids, some are sulfur containing amino acid, some are called say positively charged amino acid, some are called negatively charged amino acid, like that. So if one kind of amino acid, one amino acid of a particular kind is replaced by mutation by another amino acid of the same group, it may not result in any change in the protein property. Clear? So therefore, we have to look into such kind of changes also. Similarly, a hydrophobic amino acid, if it is replaced by another hydrophobic amino acid, although mutation is there may not be any impact on the phenotype. But if it is replaced by a hydrophilic amino acid, then it will be much more significant. So while doing scoring for amino acid change in case of protein sequences, more complexities are there. And therefore, we have to follow some standard scoring matrices in that case, by which they will give us this kind of alignment picture after the alignment is done. Say for example, here two sequences are aligned and they are showing this kind of alignment in terms of single notation amino acid sequences. You see, this is the result. All stars indicate identity, completely same. A gap indicates means there is a dissimilarity or changes taking place due to mutation. Then if there is a dot, it indicates semi-conjugate substitution. Then that means they are similar in shape. If one amino acid is replaced by another amino acid, but the shape of both the amino acids are same, this is represented by a dot. If it is represented by a colon, two dots, colon, that it indicates it is a conjugate substitution. Means it is replaced by the same color group. Means it is replaced by this similar kind of amino acid. Now there are basically two kinds of alignment. One is called global alignment and the other is called local alignment. Global, not in the context of the whole globe or earth, but it is in terms of the entire sequence, okay. Local alignment means alignment between two sequences taking into consideration segmental similarity. In certain segments there is similarity, but global alignment means we are taking into account the whole sequence and we would like to see the similarity or dissimilarity over the entire sequence. That is called global alignment. But now we have got a third variety of alignment that is called local alignment, GLO. It's a hybrid of both. That means first we go for global, then if we do not find significant global alignment, then we go for local. So that is a combination of both, that is called GLO, local alignment. That is the third variety. Now in global alignment, what is done? As I said, if there are two sequences, we would like to see the variation or similarity between the two sequences, taking into consideration the entire length of the sequence. Okay, from each nucleotide, we will see the variation after alignment. There may be certain gaps here and there. We will create gaps by doing the alignment. We will arrange them, and we will count the variation between the sequences by taking into consideration the entire sequence. That is called global alignment. Then, if it is local alignment, we will see segmental similarity or dissimilarity. Say, for example, normally it is seen when one sequence is longer than the other. Okay, this is more commonly done when one sequence is very long and one sequence is small. Then we see the local alignment. Means if there is no overall similarity, if we find similarity in certain segments, that is important. Suppose this segment is similar to this segment, This segment is similar to this segment. So that is also counted. So this is called local alignment. The approach or methodology followed for global alignment and local alignment are different. Okay. In global alignment, we use an algorithm. As I already explained, algorithm is nothing but a set of rules applied for calculating in a system where we go for solving a particular problem. So this is used in many different material sciences, including computer science. So in bioinformatics, we use Needleman-Wunsch algorithm for doing global alignment. In the next class, we shall discuss in detail what is Needleman-Wunsch algorithm and how it is done. It is very easy to understand and you will be finding it very interesting how by following certain mathematical procedure we can do alignment very easily. And that is being followed by the computer in the bioinformatics tools. I think it is going to end now. Please get ready to click on the second link. We have only a few slides left, but even then, we'll go to the second link. So I'm terminating it now because it is going to end at any point of time. Okay, we'll go back to our presentation. Okay, then as I told you, in case of global alignment, we go for the Needleman-Wunsch algorithm. We use Needleman-Wunsch algorithm. While in case of local alignment, when we find the regions of similarity or segmental similarity between sequences, that we follow another process called Smith-Waterman algorithm. So these are two algorithms more commonly used, but of course, several other algorithms have been proposed by different workers. But these are universally accepted algorithms for doing global and local alignment. For global alignment, it is Needleman-Wunsch algorithm, and for local alignment, it is Smith-Waterman algorithm. So we shall discuss it in next class, how to go about these two algorithms and how they can help in aligning sequences and instruction procedure. There is another third method of doing alignment, which can be done very easily by following a method, almost like a method to be followed in drawing any graph. It's a graphical type of method. Okay, so it is something like two-dimensional graph. It is called dot plot method. So dot plot method can also be used if we don't have any, say, dynamic programming software. It can be done manually also. So earlier, this was very commonly used for sequence alignment, but now this is not in common use because there are a lot many drawbacks of the dot plots, and we do not get good alignment score out of it, and the interpretation is not very acceptable. That is why nowadays dot plot method is not commonly used. We shall discuss about the disadvantages later on while we'll be discussing about how to make the dot plot. So in dot plot, there'll be placing of the two sequences in two different axes like this. So suppose this is one particular sequence, ATGC, ATGC, another sequence is this one. In one x-axis we'll be putting one, and in y-axis we'll be putting another. But here, this figure shows the same sequence in x as well as y-axis. I'm just putting it same sequence. Suppose they are 100% identical. Two sequences are there which are 100% identical. Now in that case, one by one we will search for the similarity. And when there is a similarity, we will put a dot. Put a dot here. A to A similar, so a dot. T to T similar, here is a dot. Z to Z similar, there is a dot. Like that, we go on doing that. And wherever there are dots, we will merge them, or across the graphical table, we shall join them together by the dots by straight line. Okay. Now we have got a straight line starting from the first nucleotide up to the last nucleotide, because all the nucleotides are same. But there are certain partial similarity also. In addition to overall similarity, you see here also we find another line, ATGC, here ATGC. So this is just repetition of the same sequence, ATGC, ATGC, here also ATGC, ATGC. That is why it is shown like this. But if the two sequences are quite different, then the picture will be different. We shall discuss about it later on while we'll be showing you the method used for sequence alignment. All the three methods we'll be discussing one by one. In the next class, first of all, we'll take on the Needleman-Wunsch algorithm. How to use Needleman-Wunsch algorithm for doing sequence alignment. What is the bioinformatics method followed? What is the real calculation being done by the computer while aligning the two sequences? Okay. So dot plotting is the best way to see all the structures in common between two sequences. So that means, as I shown you previously in the previous slide, in addition to the overall similarity, segmental similarity can also be shown by the same picture. That is one. That is good. But most important disadvantage is that in most cases it is not sensitive enough to see small structures. So small variations in or small similarities in segments may not be shown very clearly if we are taking into account the dot plot as the technique for sequence similarities searching. So dot plotting helps to recognize large regions of similarity only, not the smaller segmental similarity. Then out of the dynamic programs used for sequence alignment, one particular online tool has become very popular for sequence alignment, what is called as BLAST. I think we have heard the term. So BLAST stands for Basic Local Alignment Search Tool. So this particular tool was developed by NCBI, National Center for Biotechnology Information. It is available online free of cost. It's a freely accessible server wherein you can go for a BLAST. Okay, you can go for more commonly one-to-many BLAST. One-to-many BLAST means if you have got a query sequence in hand, suppose you have got a sequence which have been derived from your laboratory. Suppose you have PCR amplified one gene, and then you send the PCR product for sequencing. After getting the sequence from the sequencing agency, you are not sure whether the same sequence is already reported by other authors or it is a new sequence, or there are some variations in this sequence, or you do not know what is this sequence. You do not know the name of the organism. In that case, you can use that sequence and you can compare or align the unknown sequence with millions of other sequences which are there in the NCBI databases. NCBI databases has got, there are different varieties of databases present in NCBI, like nucleotide database, gene database, genome database, protein structure database, protein sequence database, then a messenger RNA database. There are many different kinds of databases within NCBI. So you can align your unknown sequence with all the databases or all sequences in databases in NCBI by using the BLAST tool. And you can get the result of sequence analysis, and you can find out what are the highly similar sequences showing high level of similarity to your unknown sequence. And from that, you can not only see the level of similarity between your sequence and other sequences, but also you can identify the sequence, and also you can read many other factors or parameters related to that sequence which are deposited in the databases along with the sequence. So sequence information in the databases are stored along with many other associated information. All these associated information can be downloaded from the NCBI. So basic local search alignment search tool is hosted by NCBI, as I already said. So this is a algorithm which is very fast, accurate, and web accessible. It is free of cost accessible through the internet. A nucleotide or protein sequence sent to the BLAST server is compared against databases at the NCBI, and a summary of matches is returned to the user. Okay, so you can go for nucleotide blast, you can go for protein blast. Of course, there are many more varieties of blast, which we'll discuss it later. Thank you very much. Today, I plan for discussing only about the theoretical aspects of the sequence alignment because it was not possible to complete yesterday. So tomorrow again, we shall deal with the same topic, but we shall be focusing on the methods of sequence alignment.